Okay, so today we're looking at adding decimals, and your objective for today is to be able to add decimals. So, adding decimals is very much similar to adding whole numbers. Just like with whole numbers, you need to align your numbers by their place value, so the 1 should be lined up with their 1s, the 10 should be lined up with their 10s, and so on. And then, just like adding whole numbers, we're going to add from the right to the left, and we're going to regroup if we need to also. Okay? Now, the difference though is now you also have a decimal point too. So you're going to add up your place values the way you would do, and you would also then put your decimal point back at the bottom too in your sum. Let's take a look at an example. Here we have that Susan rode her bicycle 3 and 12 hundredths miles on Monday and 4 and 7 tenths miles on Tuesday. How many miles did she ride in all? Okay, so here we go. Step 1 is to align the decimal points. Here I have a grid that we can use to help us keep our place values and our decimal points now too in line. So I'll line up my decimal points. Okay, here I have my 3 ones, I have my 1/10, and I have my 2 hundredths, and that's from 3 and 12 hundredths right here. And for 4 and 7 tenths, I have my 4 ones in my ones place. I'll have my decimal point lined up again, and I have my 7 tenths lined up with my other. Now you'll notice here that I don't have any hundredths, right? As a matter of fact, I have 0 hundredths, and so what I can do then to make sure I keep everything aligned is to simply add a 0 as a placeholder. So here, since I have 0 hundredths, I will put a 0 here for a placeholder. And that does not change the value of 4 and 7 tenths at all, because all I added to that is 0 hundredths. And so adding 0 of anything is not going to really bring anything else into it. Now, I'll just continue going on just like I do with my regular algorithm for adding whole numbers. Here I have 2 hundredths and 0 hundredths, and that will give me then a total of 2 hundredths. I have 1/10 and 7 tenths, that'll give me 8 tenths, and I have 3 ones and 4 ones, and that obviously is 7 ones. Notice also too, I'm making sure that my decimal point is in its place, and you might want to even put that there before you even begin. So my sum is 7 and 82 hundredths. Or I can answer the question by saying how many miles did she ride in all, and Susan rode 7 and 82 hundredths miles in all. Now, of course, I always want to make sure that my answer, or here in this case my sum, is reasonable. So I can check for it to be reasonable by rounding. I can estimate, right? So 3 and 12 hundredths is much closer to 3 than it is to 4. So I can round 3 and 12 hundredths down to 3. And 4 and 7 tenths is much closer to 5 than it is to 4. And so I'll round that one up to 5. Okay? And so here I'll add 3 and 5, and my sum now is 8. 8 is close to 7 and 82 hundredths, so my answer, my sum, is a reasonable one. Okay? Try a couple on your own. Here are 2 more. Okay, we have 42 hundredths plus 27 hundredths, and we have 3 and 25 hundredths, and we're adding on to that 7 and 6 tenths. Okay, at this point in time, you can pause the video for a moment, give yourself a chance to try it out first, and then continue to see how you did, or you're allowed to also continue the video and walk with me step by step if you need a little more support. Let's take a look at what you got going so far. Okay, so here I can use a grid to help me make sure my place values are aligned. So here I'm going to put into my grid 0 ones, 4 tenths, and 2 hundredths. And I'm also going to put into the grid 0 ones, 2 tenths, and 7 hundredths, and make sure that they line up by my decimal point. So here we go. Notice that they're all lined up. I don't need any placeholders because I have everything all aligned, and so I'll just add from right to left. 7 plus 2, of course, is 9. 4 plus 2 right here in our tenths gives us 6/10, and I have my decimal point, and I don't have any ones. So my sum for 42 hundredths plus 27 hundredths then is 69 hundredths. Okay, let's take a look at the other one. 3 and 25 hundredths, and we're adding on to that 4 and 6 tenths, excuse me, 4 and 6 tenths. So let's line up our place values. Here I have 3 ones, I have 2 tenths, and I have 5 hundredths. Over here I have 4 ones. Notice that it's a ones place value because it is the one directly to the left of my decimal point. So I have 4 ones, and I have 6 tenths. Now I don't have any hundredths here, so I'm going to go ahead and put a placeholder here, a 0 as a placeholder. I can add now from right to left. 5 plus 0, so that gives me a total of 5 hundredths plus 0 tenths, and that's 5 hundredths, excuse me. And here I have 2 plus 6, that's 2 tenths plus 6 tenths, that gives me a total of 8 tenths, and I'm putting that in my tenths place. I have my decimal point already in its place, and I'm adding now my ones. 3 ones plus 4 ones is 7 ones. That means that 3 and 25 hundredths plus 4 and 6 tenths is a total of 7 and 85 hundredths. Okay, and if you have any questions, make sure you ask. You're free to email me, and hopefully I'll respond to you. Otherwise, make sure you write down your questions. That way you can always ask me in class tomorrow.